Well, it appears that the people of the world, or at least of the Western world, are finally coming to the realization that this great idea of globalism is not working. We had a nationalist system before. We had the Canada building up from the 1930s to the 1970s. Everybody was working and everybody was uh, nationalist at that time. And then it was in the 1970s that the Rockefellers and the Rothmans and the elite of the world decided that they would know better. They would have a world order. And so they formed their little committees, their Basel committees, and their tripatriate committees, and they formed their think tanks, and they got the people to come in and convince the poor, illiterate members of our country that everything would be better if we all were the same. But we're not all the same. What they've done is dragged us down to a lower standard, but they haven't really increased the standard of anybody else. Better they'd have left us alone. Better they would have left Canada with the golden days that we had between the 1930s and 1970s, when everybody was working and the factories were going and we were building infrastructure and people were, and we put in new social programs and so on. But then in the 1970s, these financial elite and these corporate uh, magnates decided that they knew better how to run it. But now they've lost because people have finally caught on. We have shrunk our middle class. We have built up debts for our country and for our families, and everywhere we've got more credit than we can handle, all because they have transferred all the wealth and earnings into the hand of that top 10% or so on. We had the golden days, but then they did away with them. They established the ideas that we should have these free trade agreements, which are not really free trade agreements at all. They're just ways that the corporate and financial interests can fill their own pockets, while the rest of the people in the country have lost their savings and incurred their debts. But it's going to change. You know, England had their Brexit, and the United States elected a Trump who, if he doesn't do anything, if he turns out badly, he still will be better than the system that was there, the people that were in government that were controlled by these financial interests. And it'll be better, even if he is a big crook, even if he causes trouble. But he cannot stop there being a recession in the United States, which will spread to the rest of it as well. But I think we should all be nationalists now. If we go back to the early days of Canada and the Laurier government in 1911, who tried to get elected on the basis of free trade, and the people in Canada voted them out of power. I guess the people in Canada were smarter than they are now, because they could see that they had to protect their industries. They had to grow their industries. They had to be able to keep their people working and producing. But that was changed. The 1920s, the corporations got in charge. The financial interests got in there. The amount of the income and wealth of Canada was going to the top 10%. Then in the golden days, that top group didn't get it all. The rest of the people got some of it, and they worked, and we built all these things, and it were the golden days. But in the 20s, when they had control before, they caused a Great Depression. And our circumstances in this country again today are leaning towards those same excesses that went on in the 1920s. And then we had the Great Depression, and we worked our way out, and everybody was, we were all Canadians. We were all happy with our country. Now there's very few people happy, just that top 1% or 0.1% or 10% or whatever, any of that top peak. And they're doing the same things that they did back in the 20s, transferring everything to the rich. But we've seen that. Doesn't work. And we can change it in Canada. We can make Canada great again. But we have to get rid of those predators that have taken our wealth to themselves. Thank you.